Hello and welcome to Post Perspective TV. Today we've got Meet the Sponsor Fast Five. I'm Dayna McCallum with Post Perspective, and that is Randi Altman over there. And today, joining us for our Fast Five is Charlie Dunn from Telestream. Welcome, Charlie.
Hey, nice to be here.
Thank you for joining us. And a little disclaimer, Charlie, you are actually, when we've done the Fast Fives before, we've done them with folks who knew us and were used to us. You're the first person we're meeting on a Fast Five, so that's some extra fun.
So far, so good. So far, so good.
We're going to ask you 5.5 questions.
Okay.
You've got 1 minute to answer with a very official buzzer and timer system, which is my iPhone.
Does the half question come first or last? What's the
last?
Okay.
Last. Okay. Are you ready to Fast Five, Charlie Dunn?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, Randi, go.
So Charlie, can you describe your company in 1 minute or less?
Yeah. So we are Telestream, and Telestream is a company that's been around for 25 years, and it focuses on media and entertainment verticals. It started in a company. Telestream was founded just doing video compression, transcoding, and other pieces. The part of the business that I'm here to talk to you about was an acquisition they made from Tektronix to essentially buy all of the Tektronix video equipment from Tektronix and integrate that in with Telestream. So what I'm going to talk to you about today related to post is just waveform monitors and sync generators, which is the business that I run and I'm responsible for in Telestream.
Well, not only was that a lovely answer, but it was also a perfect segue into question 2.
Sure.
Which is, to recap, I think it was 2 years ago that Telestream acquired Tektronix.
Yeah.
And you came over in the transition. So question number 2 with your 1 minute, can you tell us why? Oh, that was the end buzzer from the last question. And no, you can't bank your time. It's been asked before. Can you tell us why that was an important acquisition for Telestream, how it benefits the end user, and what is the latest with the waveform monitor products? Ready?
Sure.
Go.
Yeah, I was at Tektronix for about 3 years, running that video business. And actually Telestream came knocking on our door, and they had the idea to take the part that was Tektronix, which Tektronix is a large test company, but we were focused on video, and take that out of Tektronix and combine it with Telestream, which was focused on our customer base, which was media and entertainment. And the thesis for that is there would be more value to have I would say, a more important company to each one of its customers. So one of the key segments for Telestream was in post. So one of the things that benefits, I would say, us and conversely the customer is that we become more important to the post customer because we can solve more of their problems. And I think in the long range goal is we can solve more of their problems by thinking about the products as more of a solution rather than individual products. And I think that's what will benefit the post customers in the end.
Great. And right on the buzzer. Very, very nicely done.
And that also leads us to our third question. So in 1 minute or less, can you talk about why these products are important to colorists? And you get an extra 30 seconds if you want to talk about how they're important to audio pros as well.
Oh, sure. So I'd say one of the things we're helping the post-production teams with the most right now is this transition from HD to UHD. And what's more difficult or more challenging in that transition to UHD is not just the more resolution, but it's the expansion of the colors and the dynamic range. And all of these things come with a more complexity of things like different LUTs, different camera LUTs, and other things. And we're helping customers deal with that complexity to try to manage the colors. But the most challenging thing is now they have to actually they still have to create essentially an HD output and a UHD output. And it's helping the customers manage essentially more work for about the same pay. And so our goal is really to make them more efficient in how they process UHD so that they get a good looking, essentially HD output. And there's some artistry there and some balance. And unless unless you're really good, you can eyeball it. But if you're not really good and you want more consistency, you need a tool that helps you objectively measure those things. And that's what we provide in the scope. In terms of audio, our real benefit is probably more in the QC process rather than the audio creation process. So did the surround sound come out with the right kind of effect? And we'll give you more objective measurements for those kind of things. Is the sound too much? Is it too loud? Will it fail a test if I send it to Netflix or Apple Plus or Disney Plus? Will it fail those tests? And we can help test and check those things before they get sent out. And that's probably the biggest benefit on the sound side.
Perfect. And we did not cheat. He was not prepped with these questions, but you are right on the timer every time. Well done. Yeah. Fourth question. Knock on wood, we're heading into a post-COVID world. We're going to be out and about a little bit more. People can return to their bays if they choose. How do you see the post-pandemic workflows evolving? And are there any other trends? Really, we're just looking to the future. Trends, workflows, things that you see coming down the pipeline.
I think there's two halves to the post process. One is one half that you don't really need to see the full resolution of the picture to do the work. So maybe it's how you cut the scene or how you put that together or how things might look in an overall sense. But if you really need to be doing the color work or you need to be doing the QC work, you need to be looking at a high resolution. You need to be looking at it as its native format. And I think that's where you probably aren't going to be able to do remote work very easily. So I think there's still going to be a component of doing the high resolution, 4K and even 8K work, then that's going to have to be done in a facility that can handle that. What we saw during the pandemic is a lot of people actually just lifted the equipment and took it home. And they just worked from home. It wasn't in the cloud or anything else. It was just they were doing it from home. The thing that was unique though is they were figuring out ways to work apart from each other using tools like Zoom to share the work they were doing, and they were quite productive in doing that. So I think that formula is going to be around. It's going to be some hybrid mix of that, and I think we have some ways that we can participate in that and make that easier, and that's what we're working on for the future.
Excellent. A few seconds over, but yeah. Perfectly done.
I get some rollover seconds, don't I?
You're in the home stretch. We're almost there. So question number 5. What are 3 things about Telestream that people might not know about?
Yeah, okay.
And you can talk beyond post on this one if you want. People would like learning things about the company as a whole.
I'd say maybe people don't realize how big Telestream is now. It's around 500-person company. We're probably a part of every major, I would say, media and entertainment company, and an important part of that. In terms of, on the live side of the business, we're everywhere inside of that. I'd say in the post-production side, we see that more as a place we'd like to do more business in, because the transition away from more traditional TV to, I would say, a new generation of entertainment watching is really, we've seen a corresponding lift in post-production and post-production activity. It was halted a bit with COVID, but our long-run bet is that there's going to be a lot of business here, and so we're focused on that. We've made a couple of acquisitions. Tektronix was one of those. There's another company called Content Agent that we think is going to play really nicely here, and we're probably not done in terms of adding pieces, just because we believe this part of the market is going to see a lot of long-term growth just based on the nature of how TV is changing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect. And with 2 seconds to spare.
Sure.
Okay. And yes,
I don't know if it was 3 things, but I felt
I think it was a solid 2. It's a solid 2. Do you want to tell us quickly what Content Agency?
Well, a core product inside Telestream is a product called Vantage, which is really, it's not just a transcoder, it's really more of a workflow sort of simplifier. So it does a lot of tasks for people. And Content Agent is almost like a mirror of that, but really focused more on post-production. So it's a little bit of asset management, a little bit of workflow. So you know, as in terms of the processes that people do and they process more content, they want to automate that more and make that more, I would say, consistent. And I think a product like Content Agent will help them do that.
Okay, excellent. That leaves us with our bonus question, the ever popular bonus question. Are you ready, Charlie?
Yes, I'm ready.
And this is when things get a little weird. So just
Okay.
bear with us.
Okay, so if you could be a tree, what kind of tree would you be and why?
Well, my favorite tree is an aspen tree, and the reason I like those is because they can grow in harsh environments, and they can survive real cold weather, and yet they have I don't know, they have a beauty and a stillness about them with the shimmering leaves and other parts that I really appreciate. So that's my tree.
Well, perfect. Because not only did you answer the question that we didn't know if we would necessarily get an actual answer to,
Sure.
that is the old Barbara Walters question, if you remember that. She asked Katharine Hepburn or somebody, like, if you were a tree, what tree would you be?
What tree are you guys? Do you have a tree?
Oh, I have a
Go ahead, Dayna.
I have a favorite tree, which is a birch tree. I don't know if I really see myself as a birch tree. I don't know that I know that much about them, but we had them in my backyard and front yard growing up. I got to go to the Soviet Union at one point, and they were all the birch trees out in the snow. Yes, I'll go with you down this path, Charlie. They look so beautiful and fragile with the white bark, but there they were, just groves of them in the Soviet winter. With little snow patches around them. So
great.
Randi.
Geez, I can't beat that. I'm just gonna go elm. I'm just gonna go elm. Old timey, old fashioned.
The reason we asked this question, besides our devotion to Barbara Walters, was we do know that you support, is it Friends of Trees?
Yeah.
The organization. Do you want to tell people real quick why that, because that's really where we were going, why that's important to you and something you support in your real life?
Well, there's an organization, I think it's all across the West Coast, maybe it's nationwide, but it's called Friends of Trees, and their goal is really to essentially replant trees in neighborhoods where either the trees have been taken out or they've fallen down. So they essentially, anybody in any neighborhood can call up and say, hey, I need a tree on my tree block, and Friends of Trees will go out there and you get to pick between 4 or 5 different kinds of trees that are native to the area or will do well in that area, and then we go and we plant those trees. And the goal is, I think each tree over its lifetime can take in, you know, a couple metric tons of carbon. And so for every tree that you take in, you're sort of essentially doing a little bit better for the environment, and you're making the city a little bit nicer place. I mean, already we have lots of trees here in Oregon, but if you just look around the city, there's just plenty of spaces where there could be more. And that's what the organization is really dedicated to do.
It's amazing.
Yeah. I have heard the organization's name before, but I didn't realize that the replanting of trees was.
Yeah, I have 3 daughters, and always in school that encouraged kids to get out and volunteer. And this was the one volunteer project that I did with one of my daughters that I really enjoyed, and I just kept doing it.
Fantastic. Well, thank you. I'm glad we stalked your LinkedIn page and found this out, because it was a perfect way to end. And actually, we'll have our editor put a lower third on for the bonus question with the website of the organization. So if people want to follow up, I mean, they can look up birch trees, they can look up aspen trees, they can do that on their own, but we'll put the organization.
Pretty sure they know elms, so yeah, they won't have to.
It's a standard. Well, Charlie, thank you for joining us today. Thank you for putting up with our fun format, and hopefully people learned a little bit more about what Telestream is up to today.
Yeah, well, thanks. This was enjoyable.